Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. About a month and a half ago, you saw me install some brake rotors from my front and back brakes on my Triumph bobber. I was pretty happy about it. Spoke to the supplier. The supplier said it's basically a plug and play project. All you have to do is take off the old rotors and put on the new rotors. Apparently, that's not completely true. So it's not uncommon for me to go do a post-installation inspection on the jobs that I've done, the modifications that I've done, just to make sure that the screws haven't backed out or anything's come loose and stuff like that. And I basically discovered that the disc rotors were extremely close to one side of the caliper, and it was exactly the same on both sides. So this kind of worried me a little bit, because I thought as the brake pads wear out, the disc rotor is going to be eventually pushed into the side of the caliper. Now, a couple of bad things can happen when that happens. You could lock up the wheel and you could send yourself flying off to oblivion, or it could just lock up one side of the wheel and cause you to turn and fly into a ditch. But there's a solution. 12 pieces of these washers, spacers, for less than 3 ringgit. We're going to put one of these washers on each of these mounting bolts, in between the caliper and the fork bracket, and hopefully that will realign the calipers to the disc rotor. Let's get started. First, grab a 12mm socket and loosen up the mounting bolts on the caliper. To figure out how many washers I needed to install, I straight away measured the thickness of my OEM disc rotors and compared it to the thickness of my Caliper disc rotors, and the difference is only roughly about 1mm. So each of these spacers are only 1mm thick, so I think that's going to be good enough. So 1 washer per mounting bolt. Just a quick inspection on my caliper. So this is the area that I was really worried that the disc rotor was going to hit. So as the rotor spins, it was getting very, very close to this. I think the clearance is probably less than 1mm, so it wasn't really touching it. So after inspection, there was no scrubbing or any damage to the caliper, so I think I caught it just in time, so that was pretty lucky. To install the washers, all I did was I rested the brake calipers onto the disc rotor, and I had it there, sat there balanced, and then I just basically slid the washer in between the caliper and the bracket, and then insert the mounting bolt. Okay, that was pretty easy. So the last thing to do is to torque everything back up to 21 Newton meters for each of these mounting bolts. So once everything is done for the right side rotor, it's time to do exactly the same thing for the left side. I gotta admit that I was a little bit excited when I discovered that the brake rotors were very close to the calipers. All sorts of things went through my mind. You know, I really didn't want the wheels to lock up and send me flying over the handlebars, or lock up on one side and pull the bike off onto the side of the road into a truck. So I was kind of desperate to find a solution for this. I've said it many times before, I'm not a mechanic, I'm not a trained mechanic, so I really don't know what I'm doing. So a lot of the stuff that I learned is from YouTube and like the instruction manuals, but this is like a third-party install, a third-party component that I've installed on the bike. And of course, so the manual doesn't have anything that tells you what you're supposed to be doing. So I relied on the knowledge of the supplier, and the supplier said, no, you don't need anything else. So all you got to do is take off the old rotors and put on the new rotors, and you're good as gold. But you know, he was so far from the truth, right? So I luckily spotted this. Imagine if I didn't spot it. Anyway, before we get to the end of the video, I just want to give a shout out to a couple of guys. One guy's called Taras, he's on my Facebook group chat, and the other guy is Jesus from the Bobber forum. And these two fellows are the guys who basically told me how to resolve this problem. So anyways, here are 2 photos of the before and after on both sides, and you can see that now the disc rotor sits center of the caliper. Fantastic. So that brings us to the end of the video. If you like the content that I produce, please give me a follow, leave me a comment. I'll catch you on the next video. I've got a couple more videos coming out, probably about 3 or 4, which I haven't finished editing yet. So I'll see you in those videos. Take care, everyone.